Hello, Night Nation. Trace Tralco here. Welcome into the Sons of UCF Live. Joined now by Adam and George O'Leary's texting buddy, UCF Mike. Guys, hello.
What's up, man? Yeah, I'm going to be a little distracted. I'm telling you guys right off the top. I'm watching the game at the same time. It's the ALCS. It's a big game. But I'm here. I'm here. I don't know if I'm listening to you guys, but I'm definitely here.
Have we heard from Coach O'Leary tonight? For those of you not in the know, Mike texted Coach O'Leary about the Yankees, and Coach O'Leary texted back.
That's right. It was a big mystery. We've talked about this before. We didn't know if he knew how to text. I texted him once 2 years ago. Never heard back from him. I texted him yesterday after talking to him the day before. He texted me back. I'm talking within a minute. So we're texting buddies. I didn't text him today. I'm leaving him alone. We lost yesterday. I'm waiting for the right game. You know, like I told you, clinching games, game 7, something like that.
I'm shocked by this revelation. There's a lot to unpack here, not the least of which is Mike just starts off his text with, "Hey, Coach, it's Mike." And I have no idea if he thinks you're Mike Klubiali.
He has no idea who he's talking
Michael McDonald. I have no idea who he thinks you really are.
If I didn't talk to him the day before, then yes, I think you're right. But I talked to him exactly about the Yankees the day before. I went straight into Yankees. You saw the whole text.
Do you think he sees you in his mind, though?
No, he doesn't know. He has no idea what I look like. No.
Well, you're telling me you're the only Mike in his life? I mean, come on. He's in two Hall of Fames. He's in 2 Hall of Fames.
As he pointed out on a previous
episode
of the Sons of UCF.
He's in a lot of
multiple.
All right, Mike, you enjoy the Yankees. Drop into our show every once in a while. Before we start to dig into this ECU game, Knights 70, Temple 13. That was the result a week ago. UCF moving to 5-1 through half the season, 2-0 in the AAC. Guys, first half MVP on offense. Who you got?
I think you got to go John Rice Plumlee, right? I mean, he's accounted for most of the offense. It's always an easy cop-out to go quarterback. But when UCF is clicking, when we're scoring points, when we're playing well, it's largely because JRP is doing that. I thought about Bowser because he's a touchdown machine, but I don't think the yards have been there. I don't think any of the receivers have been consistent enough. I think RJ Harvey's coming on, but he's only played a few games. I think it's JRP, unfortunately. Not unfortunately, but he's really kind of the only option, I think, for first half MVP.
After the first few games, you could have said Javon Baker, right? He exploded on the scene the first couple games. But the offense goes as JRP goes. And he's the one that, if he has a bad game, we've had bad offensive performances. Louisville, Georgia Tech. But if he's on fire, there's nobody stopping him. He puts up 70 points this week.
Gotta agree with John Rice Plumlee. Interesting, though, as you both described the different players and talked about them, no dominant players, right? And they're still 5-1. Right. So there's room for all of them to grow in their statistics and contributions to the team. I guess maybe you could say the same. Is there a dominant face on defense? First half MVP on defense.
Tremont Morris Brash, 22 tackles, 6.5 tackles for loss, 3 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, a fumble recovery, and a safety. Almost a touchdown. Thank you very much, Devad Wilson. But I think TMB is your first half MVP.
Yeah, I got to agree with that one, too. I mean, he's the guy getting pressure on the quarterback. We expected Selascar maybe to have a few more sacks by now. And really the whole defensive line. You haven't heard Ricky Barber's name too many times. So I expect these guys to get a little bit better. But right now it's Tremont's.
I'm going Jeremiah Jean-Baptiste, a steadying force. That was an area of question going into the season. He has been a key contributor at linebacker. And how about shout out to some of the other guys that have made contributions? Jason Johnson, right? He's been a good first half name for the Knights defense.
Leads the team in tackles. I was looking at that too. JJB only played, sat out a game, so he's got one less game on his ledger. But Jason Johnson leads the team in tackles, which is probably not a name we would have picked out of a hat. Mike had no clue who he was before the season, so I don't think anyone would have had that one.
No, I never heard of Dwortney Wortham either. So, but that's a cool name. I'm starting to like saying it.
Can you spell it?
No, I mean maybe DWARTNEY, WORTHAM.
Is that right?
Yeah. I think he's got that.
Not bad.
Yanks with a double, by the way, Mike.
I've been watching it right now. Okay. You're a couple seconds ahead of me.
Sorry about that.
Every once in a while, jump in with some play-by-play.
We would. That was Donaldson. I don't like Donaldson.
Just don't pull a Bob Costas, please. I don't need to go to a dark place tonight.
So Knights at ECU, 7:30 Saturday, Dowdy Ficklin Stadium, also on ESPNU. Knights 4.5-point favorite. Does it surprise you after they put up 70 that they're not a bigger favorite?
Not really. I mean, again, it's a road game. You typically give 3 points to the road team right off the bat. I think if I'm Vegas, I want to see consistency, right? I've seen UCF have some clunkers. I've seen some big games. I also probably don't know how good Temple is, home game. So I'm not super surprised by the line. I thought it may be a couple of points higher, but I didn't expect it to be double digits.
Yeah, East Carolina has been respectable on offense. They put up a good fight against North Carolina State. We saw they put up 47 points this past week. So UCF going on their really first true road test of the season. Maybe that has a little something to do with it.
Comment right there saying scary game. I asked on my Twitter poll, do you believe trap games are a thing? It was asked of the coaches. They batted it away. 65% of folks who responded to the poll said yes. What about you, Adam? You believe in the trap game concept? Knights may be looking ahead to a possible game day on UCF's campus when Cincinnati comes to town for homecoming.
I think it's only natural that you can certainly look up and down your schedule and maybe not have your entire attention on a game. I don't know that I know it's a trap game. I mean, UCF knows who ECU is. They know what they do. It's going to be a game of focus or attention. There's a question in the mailbag later about this, Trace. I think is actually a better posed question, but I can see how one might overlook an opponent. I think everyone does that when you look at your schedules.
I believe in trap games, but I don't think that this one is a trap game. Coming into the season, we all knew that this was going to be a tough game on the road. It's a night game. It's going to be a good atmosphere out there. I don't think you can take that lightly. A trap maybe is when you walk into a building that's half full and you're favored by 25 points. This is not it. We just said we're favored by 4 points. It's going to be a hostile environment. This can't be a trap game.
Comes down to discipline, right? And the focus of coaches to keep players in the moment this week. Knights have had a little bit extra rest. ECU with a 4 overtime game. 47-45 over Memphis. The Bear Bryant Coach of the Year finalist, head coach Gus Malzahn, asked about that, says, what about this, avoiding a letdown with ECU?
I really feel strong that we've got, veteran leaders on our group, and, you only get 12 of these games guaranteed, and feel real strong that our guys will be ready to play. I mean, they understand that, that was 1 week we played really good. We have a lot of respect for our opponent we're playing this week. We played them last year and it went down almost the last play, and so they got a lot of their guys back. We got a lot of our guys back, so I don't expect any letdown.
You heard him say 12 games, right? You only get one of these a week, and it's hard to believe we are halfway through the season. Very front-loaded for the Knights here in Week 7. First time they go out of state. They had the road game at FAU, all of the home games, some disruptions in there with a hurricane and such, and now 4 of the final 6 on the road. But as he said, only 12 of these, the players will be up for it.
I hope so. I mean, that's certainly what your coach has to say at the podium, right? We're not overlooking this team. We know they're dangerous. We're going to have them ready. I hope that's true. I think this will be really indicative of, who this Knights team in this year. We've talked about this in the podcast this week. You've seen wild swings in both directions. Now we've seen 6 quarters consistently of really good to above average to great football out of UCF. I think this game will tell us kind of where this team is at as you think about the future schedule, and the fact that it's a road game will tell you a bunch about how this team gets prepared, how the coaches prepare them as well too. So I expect Gus to say nothing less than that, but let's see what weird things happen at ECU on a Saturday night. I mean, that's just how life works.
The way this team's been playing so far, this is a defense first team. The defense has been solid all year. Defense travels, my friend. Defense goes on the road. The offense may struggle for a quarter or two. Defense can't have any let up. And if we go up big on these guys, you can't let up then either. They came back this past week against Memphis. They were down 17-0 early in that game. So if the offense is on fire early, the defense is going to stay strong all 4 quarters.
This series tied 10-10 between the Knights and the Pirates, so tipping point here. And you might remind Coach O'Leary in your text that his last win as a head coach of the Knights was Hale Perryman. That struck me. I saw that this
crazy.
week.
Yes. Yeah, that's crazy.
I'd never connected those two through the years. That it was his last win that Knights would lose in the bowl game, and then 2015, of course. I was on an ECU show earlier in the week, the Sports Objective podcast, their live show, and I referred to it as Hale Perryman, and it's interesting to see their faces. They don't call it that. They don't refer to it as Hale Perryman. Let's bring in former UCF quarterback Nick Patti to talk a little bit more about this. Nick, on the road this week, much like the Knights. Nick, do you believe in the concept of a trap game?
I believe that they exist. I don't. I agree with some of you guys. I don't think this is a trap game. I think they'll be up for this one. I think if the environment will be there. ECU can be a really tough place to play. They got a good team this year, so I think it'll be quite an environment. They can get up. It's one of my favorite places to go play. They had some juice in the stadium, even some of the years we played them. So I don't think so. I think that they're flying high. I think they got some energy. Offensive side of the ball, they light it up last week. So hopefully some of that carries over with just some natural excitement. I don't know that that this is one, but I think it can be, but I don't think it's this week.
All right, Nick, John Rice Plumlee lit it up, 7 touchdowns against Temple. What did you see different in the Temple John Rice Plumlee than maybe you've seen throughout the first 5 games before that?
I think the one thing that pops out to you the most was his accuracy. And you could break that down into a million different things. I think, the first thing that I saw was no matter where he was throwing the ball, no matter if people were open or not, the ball was where it was supposed to be. It was on time. And I think the one thing why I think that he was so much more accurate, he seemed much more confident. It seemed like he was having fun. He seemed like he had some confidence. He seemed like he could put it where he wanted it. Guys were running wide open. They had some really nice play calls. And other guys were making plays. But, whether a guy's wide open or not, you don't put the ball on him and you're not accurate, it doesn't matter. So I think his accuracy set him apart this week, and that's why they were so proficient. And, it was just nice to see him have some confidence that trickled over into the other guys. And, people feed off of that. And when a guy, is playing with that confidence, it feeds off into the offensive line. It feeds over into the defense. And I think you saw the whole team embody that. If they can continue to carry that on and he can, try to harness some of that accuracy, I think that's been the one thing kind of missing in the passing game. They did some things differently that I thought were really nice with some of the downfield passing, especially off of play action, and some of the, stock and goes that they incorporated in to try to help him. But he showed up and he threw the ball well, and I think that was good to see.
I think a lot of Night Nation fell in love with Thomas Castellanos the other night, but now he's played in 4 games. Malzahn said that he's going to try not to burn his red shirt, so maybe you don't see him in any more blowouts. But if this is a close game somewhere down the road and JRP gets hurt and has to come out for a quarter or two, do you go to Castellanos or do you go to Mikey King?
Based on what we've seen so far, and specifically last week, depending on how bad you think JRP is down and out, right? I mean, it's always very situational with that. I think you go to Tommy. That's sort of what I do. I think that he's shown that, you never know if he's completely ready or not. We don't have that big of a subset, but he has shown that he can light it up. He's shown that he can be very comfortable. Yes, last week too, I think same thing. He was accurate when he threw the ball. He played with a ton of confidence. You could tell he wants to light it up and make some plays. So physically, I think too that he's ready to play when we need him. And I think given the circumstance, if it's something where you feel like JRP might be out for a considerable amount of time, you maybe move to Tommy. But trying to keep the red shirt, keep all that in mind. If it's something, a drive where the helmet comes off, or maybe you're not sure, I think you go with Mikey and you reassess and then maybe go from there, right?
Off the top of the show, we were talking about first half offensive and defensive MVPs. We were in agreement on John Rice Plumlee as offensive MVP. What about you?
Yeah, I think you go there. Between that and the play calling, whoever that is, whether it's Gus or Chip. But I think it's hard to go anywhere else but JRP. I was just really excited about how accurately he threw the football, how convicted he threw the football. But I loved what they did on offense. I loved how they spread it out. I loved how they got creative. They even used, Bowser on some jet motions and, like I said, the stock and goes and things of that nature. I thought, it's hard to go anywhere else but JRP, even though everyone else, he put the ball on the money, but they were catching it. They were wide open. But hard to go anywhere else but that. And then on the defense side of the ball, I think our linebackers, second level, they're really showing up. Defense line is doing a good job of, setting the edge and allowing those guys to run free, and make plays. It's always good when your linebackers are leading tacklers. You don't want to see your safeties and DBs, have be up there with tackles. So on the defensive side of the ball, a couple linebackers really shined. They did really, really good job, and they keep it up. I think, it was the first time early on in the game our DBs showed a little bit of wear and tear. They showed a little bit of vulnerability, but they bounced back, and I like to see their energy too of sort of pushing through a couple drives, and then they just shut them down. So resiliency on the defensive side of the ball, accuracy, and confidence on the offensive side of the ball.
Let me ask you a little bit more about defense. It's been a consistency through the season that they start a little bit slow. And I asked defensive coordinator Travis Williams about that during the Sunday night media availability. And he says he doesn't know why. And if he knew why, he maybe coach him out of it. What is your sense of that, why they start slow?
Sure. Yeah, I think it can be a number of things, especially scheme wise. I mean, there may be, something where you kind of got to get into the feel of the game a little bit, maybe come out and see. They don't light it up with blitzing. They don't. They sort of play a scheme on defense that you let the offense come to you, right? You allow your DBs to make some plays. You kind of expect them to shut down in the passing game, and they play a pass off type of zone on the back end, and so it turns into a little man. But you kind of have to kind of settle into that a little bit. They threw the ball with some success on the first couple drives, really, and then you see the DBs start to fly around a little bit, start to pass things off better. So maybe it's communication. Maybe they just got to get into the game a little bit and work together. There's a multitude of things that it could be. But yeah, that's tough. It'll be, on the road, it's even different, right? Because you got to communicate. It's going to be loud even when the defense is on the field, because it's just ECU is a rowdy place and they'll be excited. But I think the majority of it, if you had to tack it up to one thing, I think it's probably communication on the defensive side, and they settle into the game and then start to communicate and start to run around a little bit. So.
Nick, obviously, staying on defense for a second, the defense has been lights out this year, but here's two stats. We are number 89th in the nation in sacks with 11 and number 100 in takeaways with only 7 on the year. Which of those two stats concern you more?
I'd have to probably circle takeaways, and maybe it's not as much concerning as I think it can make the biggest difference if we start to take the ball away a little bit, and that's one of, I think, the biggest wins for win differential is turnover margin, right? That between that and hidden yardage, time of possession, those are the little hidden stats that can, win or lose a ball game. And if we can start to flip that turnover margin, I think give our defense some rest, take a little bit of pressure off the back end. I think, maybe answering your question in a different way, but I think that's the one that it would make the biggest difference if we start to create some turnovers. The sacks is big. It puts them in, negative down yardage, and I think they maybe go hand in hand too if you look at it that way, right? If we start to get the sack numbers up, they start to throw the ball more, and then in turn, maybe that creates some more turnovers. So maybe it's coming up with some more creative ways to put some pressure on them and get some negative yardage going, so that we're in more advantageous situations to create some turnovers. So, but again, turnover margins aren't just through the air, right? That can be on special teams, that can be fumbles, et cetera. So. Yeah, if that answers your question.
Nick, you were in Greenville in 2014 for the Hale Perryman game on the sidelines. People forget we had a big lead in that game and we blew it. What was the team like on the sidelines? Everybody think the game was over, and then what was the reaction and celebration like?
Yeah, it was incredible. I heard the stat too about that being his last win. That's just crazy to me. I guess you don't think about it that way, especially after what we endured afterwards. But that was unbelievably electric. It was one of the most exciting moments I think of my life. But, it's like you just don't expect that kind of thing. A couple plays before we put it, we really looks like we have no shot, and we get a long reception down the field to put us in the situation. So after you catch that, it's like, oh my gosh, at least we have a chance at the end zone. But it's such a long shot. I was all the way at the other side of the field, kind of looking, down. So the whole sideline, I just remember kind of having a great view at it because I wasn't in the group, and just going on a full sprint. It was unbelievable. It was the giant dog pile in the end zone. And the locker room was electric. I can remember their locker room having really low ceilings and sort of rafters, and guys hanging from the rafters, and which was unlike anyone, even after a win in an O'Leary locker room. Because if you remember correctly, that was also to co-win the conference. And so that Hail Mary won us the conference that year. We were going to lose the bowl game, but so that was a huge win. There was no conference championship that year, so it was pretty neat. So really, really cool environment. That was that was another one. ECU was really bumping that year. It was quite a place to play, but then you finish like that, it was insane.
Is that a top 5 George O'Leary happy moment? And were there 5?
Yeah, it would be really hard. It would take me a while to come up with them. I know that. Being facetious there, because he did know how to make a joke and make you laugh every once in a while. But that was definitely, from what I saw, a top 5 moment. I'll say of letting his guard down a little bit. He allowed us to do that, so it was a lot of fun.
You've been talking about the crowd. This will be the first time true freshman kicker Colton Boomer will go on the road, and we're going to perhaps see how he deals with a raucous crowd on the road.
Yeah, there's something to that, right? Especially they do the 5th quarter thing and they roll up the pirate flag. And unless they've had a renovation of the stadium, I do remember one of the ends being open, it not being a full horseshoe. I think their facility might be in one of the end zones. So from a kicker's perspective, that can be advantageous, right? Because it might be loud and all the above, but if you're kicking towards that end zone, I think that can always help a little bit. So, noise and all that and pressure, it all sticks around, but that can be something to look for if we're ever kicking that way. But he's been pretty solid. I think this will be a good, if he can stay consistent, that'll be a huge part of the offense. You take a ton of confidence in having a good kicker, right? Especially as a quarterback that's trying to gain some confidence. So.
Like, this begins our last road games against American Conference opponents. You've obviously been on the sideline as a player. Now you've probably been to stadiums as a fan. Which venue or which team will you miss the most playing in the AAC?
Yeah, I think it might be East Carolina, honestly. And I've always said that it was one of my favorite places to play. I got fired up when they did the 5th quarter and the pirate flag, like I mentioned. It was something that I always liked. I thought was always pretty neat. And a couple of the other ones were cool cities, but some of the, kind of a drag at stadiums. But East Carolina was cool. The drive in is pretty neat. It's in a fairly unique venue, some trees around, and it's kind of built up into some woods, if I remember correctly. But that was pretty neat. It was pretty rowdy, and the 5th quarter thing was pretty neat. I think that'll be probably the one. Houston is another one that was a pretty cool place to go play. Neat stadium, neat city, neat venue. And so, those are the 2 that I'd probably circle off the top of my head.
One of the sponsors of our show is Prize Picks. I don't know if you're a gambling man, but I want to throw a couple of over-unders at you and tell me what you're feeling like for this week's game. All right. John Rice Plumlee, over or under 275.5 passing yards?
Under.
Under. Okay. Over under 60.5 rushing yards for him?
Over.
See, the first couple of weeks, it was an easy over, right? He was running for 120 yards, but the last couple of weeks, last week he only had 37, the week before I think 50. And the offense has looked better that way. What do you have a preference of how many passes he should be throwing in a game? Because he had his best game, he was 18 for 22. Is there a number if he's throwing more, then are we in trouble?
I'm not one to put a pitch count on that type of thing, just because the flow of the game and what they're giving you and maybe how they adjust and all that good situational football too, as far as time of possession. I think it's hard to put a number on that because you just never know what that looks like. But I think the biggest difference, and I had made note of it, was he had his eyes downfield. He did a really good job of keeping the plays alive and not just tucking and running, which I've been kind of begging him to do. But there was a couple big plays where he kind of kept his eyes up. I think he found Bowser in the flat on one that Bowser ends up going for 70 plus yards. And so things like that are 6 one half dozen the other, where you kind of want him to make it happen with his feet, and he probably could have gone and got a little bit. But keeping your eyes downfield, staying in the play, you never know what comes about. That's where if he can continue to do that, but make good decisions with the football, I think that's where the offense really explodes. But who knows? I think the biggest thing for him is if he's not having a good night, if he's not on, if he's not accurate, maybe they're not moving the ball well through the air for whatever reason. That's when you'd like to say, okay, just make it happen with your feet, right? Don't force it. Don't force the football. He's athletic enough where that can kind of carry his game. And so not as much putting a pitch count on how many balls you'd like to see him throw, but you'd like to see that kind of flip happen. Instead of us just running the ball and not calling any, passes and doing that dance and really changing the structure and the, approach of the entire offense. I think changing the approach and just keeping the ball on the ground is more detrimental than maybe just being in his ear and saying, hey, 1, 2, if it's not there, run it. We're calling this and this and this. And if it's not there, tug and run, go make it happen. Right. And let him be athletic and push through. So I think, that's how I would handle him a little bit, is let his athleticism, push through, as opposed to trying to manipulate him with the play calling. I think that's a little bit of a better way to still utilize his athleticism, but push him through.
Nick, I don't know if you know this about our friend Mike here. He is a die-hard Yankees fan. And he obviously knows that Coach George O'Leary is a die-hard Yankees fan. So I have a yes-no question for you. In advance of this series, Mike texted Coach O'Leary to basically start a conversation about the Yankees. Yes or no, did Coach O'Leary text him back?
Man, I want to say no, but he's got a way of surprising me throughout my years knowing GOL. So I only want to say no because I can't imagine he's a texter. Of all the things that I know him of, the texting wouldn't be one. But again, he has surprised me over the years. So I'd love to know the answer. Did he? Did he hit you back?
Mike, exclusive reveal, Mike.
He did. He texted me back within about a minute.
Come on, you're kidding me. He was
No, I didn't think he
Instagram or
texted
something,
either.
right?
I called him the day before. I talked to him for about 5 minutes.
And then you have to FaceTime him next time. See if
that's the next step. But I think we're gonna get a really good shot of his ear if I do that.
Yeah, that's right. No kidding. You might get worse. You might not want to do that.
Nick, but do you think George O'Leary knows who he's talking and texting to?
Hey, if you're talking about the Yankees, I don't think he cares. To be honest with you.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That was my whole reasoning. He needs somebody to talk to about these games. It was a big game. I kind of loosened them up a little bit before the game won there.
Yeah, his love for the Yankees and some of those things made me hate the Yankees even more. You could tell facial hair and all that stuff. So trust me, it's a well-known thing.
All right, Nick, before you join us again on a future episode of the Sons of UCF Live, go back and rewatch your segment. Little tip here. You're throwing away money, my man. That's all I'm going to tell you. Nick Patti on the road joining us this week for the Sons of UCF Live. Thanks a lot, Nick.
Appreciate it, fellas. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, man.
Robert, 2 letters, 2 words.
Hold on, Trace. Hold on before you get all high and mighty there. A little challenge for you.
Yeah, that seems simple.
If he acknowledges this text only, well, I don't have a hat near me.
Go get one.
Oh, that involves a whole production of things. We're not doing all that. But I did miss that one. I tried. It's better that I don't look at the comments because there have been several scrolling. Like, I don't know if you're noticing because I know you're keeping an eye on the Yankees, but there was one about maybe you were related to George.
Yeah, I did see that. I'm the lost son of UCF.
Yeah,
the white pony was a good. was the other.
Want to give you an update. I was glad to join Jan and Britt for the Brits Bunch fundraiser last Saturday night. They raised more than $18,000 during that evening. Silent auction, John Rice Plumlee there, Mackenzie Milton, all sorts of Knights fans. A lot of players turned out. So congratulations to them. Money being used for a variety of things, but one of which is bringing kids and young adults to the UCF Navy game coming up this season. As I mentioned, several players. We've got the interview with John Rice Plumlee on our YouTube channel, but let's give you a little snippet of it. This one with Brian O'Keefe.
Brought you out here tonight?
Yeah, Brit's always having these like fun little events, just to help kids. I'm always trying to give back any way I can, especially with the platform I have now. I'm trying to use it in a positive way, just support Brit any way I can.
And what do you think? They're trying to raise money to bring kids to the Navy game, kids that might not otherwise go to a UCF game.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. There's a lot of kids out there that don't got the same, they're not as fortunate as a lot of people. So, just Brit, just using her, her platform to, try to inspire others, just do different things and just, be able to bring kids and just have them enjoy a game, that's everything for us.
And when you see those kids, the experience of being in the bounce house, they light up, don't they?
Oh, yeah, because the bounce house, like I said, we got the best fans in the nation. It's probably one of the best atmospheres in all college football. So just, having them just come out and enjoy it, just kick back and relax, that's everything, and we try to do everything in our power to give back to the community that we serve.
And when you guys leave the locker room, win or lose, Brit's there, isn't she, to give you guys a hug?
Our number one fan, I love seeing Brit's face. She's probably the first person I see when I leave the locker room, give her a hug, give Miss Jan a hug. It's always a good time seeing Brit and all that. I love it.
Britt giving out a lot of hugs last week. Also, she's very strategic in her fundraising. She had one of those QR codes around her neck, a button or what have you, where you could make a donation right there with her. So more than $18,000.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Jan and Britt.
Yeah, that's really cool. And there's still time to continue to donate, right? That was obviously one event, but there's still opportunity for anybody who couldn't get out there to donate. You see the website there, bridgesponge.org. You can also follow them on social media. And I also want to give a hat tip to our one of our friends, Drew Belani in Poor Choice, who was kind enough to host the event and give the space up. And that's awesome for Drew. He's also doing a watch party this Saturday night, 7:30 at Poor Choice. So if you're looking for something different to do for the game, they'll have food trucks. They have, self-pouring beer taps. They'll have games. They'll have a bunch of stuff too. So go support Drew. He supports Brits Bunch and what they're doing there. So go show him some love. But again, still time to donate. So head over to bridgesbunch.org or find him on social media and find out how you can get involved.
And I posted on my social media, Mike, UCF Juggernaut on Twitter was the successful bid for the Sons of UCF swag, the hat, the Yeti tumbler. And as Adam said to me, I still find it hard to believe people are interested enough to bid on something that the Sons of UCF have contributed for this cause.
I thought they'd have to pay him to take that thing. How much did he actually pay for it?
I do not know what the winning bid, but I snapped a picture and sent it to Adam, and there were several bids.
It was a good chunk of the 18,000, I heard. So
yeah, bigger than the Knight of Lorient's helmet. The signed, autographed Mackenzie Melton items. Bigger than
a lot of the items looked awesome. I saw somebody came home with a bunch of signed jerseys and signed plaques and all that stuff, pictures. So and the event looked like there was a great turnout. I saw a lot of players there. Really cool thing they did.
Yeah, it was great. You'll be interested to know. It's interesting that people think that you guys live in Orlando. Every time I'm at something, hey, is Adam here? Is Mike here? They're always asking about you guys.
We're going to be up there in a couple of weeks or next week, like 10 days, whatever it is for the Cincinnati game. So
what's the plan for that? What are each of you guys doing?
I need to know kickoff time. I'm going to be up there in the morning. Either way, I should be getting to Orlando around 10 o'clock. Whether I drive or fly, but I probably around 10 o'clock. And depending on what time the game is, if it's a 12 o'clock game, I'm going straight to campus. If it's a 3:30 game, then I'll probably get there around 12:30, 1 o'clock, something like that.
Adam, what about you?
Yeah, same. Time matters on this one, but I'll be there early. Maybe stop by a couple tailgates, Alumni Center. Check that out. I know people are asking if we're doing a tailgate. Unfortunately, with the unknown schedule and everything what's going on between all three of us, probably don't have time to pull that off here for Cincinnati. But I'm sure we'll be bouncing around someplace. Hope to run into a few nights and say hello.
Yeah, a lot of people asking about tailgating. Wanting to know if we're going to be out there for that. So
we've left our mark, Trace. We've made our mark.
Yeah, leave them wanting more, right?
Yeah.
Let's not overdo things.
Robert is just looking to give away money, by the way, Robert. Just donate money to everybody. I love it.
Warren has not submitted a walk and talk question, I don't believe. So that's a good one.
I can confirm. Yeah.
That's a good one. While we wait for our guest, who appears to be in a bit of a bad cell signal where he is right now, Mike, the bowl predictions, are you getting a little more serious about them now, or is it still too early for you? We're halfway through the season. The quality of the opponents has improved. 2 weeks or so ago, it was a Cure Bowl. Now Yahoo, UCF versus Oklahoma State in the Cotton Bowl, or ESPN saying UCF Oklahoma in the Armed Forces Bowl, which is an interesting matchup, right? UCF South Carolina and Birmingham. CBS Sports has UCF Coastal Carolina and Gasparilla Bowl, and Action Network has UCF versus Miami in the Gasparilla Bowl. So the quality of opponents has improved as the Knights have moved to a 5-1 record.
Well, people are thinking that we're a better team than they thought we were 3 weeks ago when we lost to Louisville. So they're giving us credit. Somebody has us going to the Cotton Bowl. That's a New Year's Six bowl game. But none of these things mean anything. As we all know, we can lose this week and we may not make a bowl. So I don't believe in any of these or whatever these things are called. Predictions or what? I'm just talking. Predictions of the bowl games. It doesn't mean anything until you actually get there.
I think the bigger the bigger item here, Trace, is you find the time each week to chase all of these down. This is like 9 different sources that you're purposefully finding to get bowl predictions.
They show up on Twitter. They all post their bowl predictions. So
I care about you. Okay, we care about you. Just take it easy. It's okay.
Yeah, I find time for you guys.
Okay.
While we wait for our guest, let's go around the kingdom. Just before we came on, women's soccer, they won 1-0 in their game over ECU. So maybe a little foreshadowing there for the Knights over the Pirates. They wore their blue Citronaut garb. Olivia Lewis, her first career goal 5 minutes in. And that was just enough for the Knights to win 1-0. The Knights move now. You can update that. Can you update that in real time? 7-2-4. 5-0-1 in the AAC. This is a week in which the AAC's Offensive Player of the Week was Kristen Scott, and the AAC Goalkeeper of the Week. Second week in a row, Caroline Delau. Knights hit the road at Tulsa Sunday, but they remain top of the table in the American volleyball. Somehow they win, but the volleyball polls, they don't want both Houston and UCF in that poll at the same time. So Houston added, and UCF got the boot. They swept the Cows. That's 19 straight over the Cows. Cows have never beaten UCF in the AAC, and that's good. Knights lead the war on I-4. That's the first 3 points of this sports year. McKenna Melville also had a great game as usual. She's the AAC Offensive Player of the Week. That's fourth time this season. Knights 15-1 overall, 7-1 in the AAC. They are at Cincinnati at 6 on Friday. Men's soccer, been tough for them. They lost 3-1 at UAB, 5-5, 2-4 in the AAC. They are home Friday. Charlotte comes to town, number 13. So, all right, our guest has now joined us. Let us welcome in Bubba Rosenbaum, co-host of the Sports Objective podcast. And I was happy to join Bubba and crew for their show this week. Bubba, welcome into Sons of UCF Live.
Absolutely, Trace. I appreciate you guys having me on again. It should be a heck of a matchup this weekend at Dowdy Ficklin.
You looked at me a little quizzically when I referred to it as Hail Perryman. What do you guys call it? Do you just call it a Hail Mary that ruined your night that night?
We just call it the disaster in 2014, I guess. But no, that was a very I wish it was a very forgettable game. But that's one that, Pirate fans had a hard time getting over, and understandably so.
Bubba, give me a sense of this team. They take North Carolina State down to the wire, could have won that game. Then they've had a couple of games that are a bit of a head scratcher. They win against Memphis here last week and 4 overtimes. Where's this team at? Have you seen consistency in this team this year? What are kind of the ups and downs as you've experienced them?
As you've observed, I would say, I guess, consistently inconsistent because you had the game against NC State that you referenced, where you really felt like you not only could have won it, but should have won it. And then it's kind of the same type of deal with Navy. So instead of 4-0, you were 2-2, feeling like you definitely left a lot on the table. And then the game at Tulane, you definitely feel like you could have won it, but the Green Wave were undoubtedly the better team that day. That was different than those other two that I mentioned. And so I think some of the weakness have been, just inopportune, turnovers in the crunch time, and obviously the kicking woes have been well documented. The Pirates now have a new place kicker after Owen Daffer was the kicker for the first 6 games of the season. And, the Pirates have failed to convert 6 extra points and also missed a few field goals. Obviously, the most notable one was the one against NC State, probably, and then one in overtime as well against Navy. And then on the defensive side, the Pirates have stopped the run very well. And the struggles have come against the pass. And there have been times where, secondary that is without guys like Jaquan McMillan and Warren Saba. You have received excellent play from Malik Fleming, but there have been some struggles on defending the pass, and I'd say that's my biggest concern going into this game. And obviously the way John Rice Plumlee threw the ball off, play action and really lit up the Temple House.
Quarterback Holton Ahlers, it seems like he's been there for 10 years now. What's your feelings on him? Are you guys happy with the way he's played, or have you been a little disappointed? Where would you rank him in East Carolina quarterback history?
Now, obviously, the quarterback position in general, you're going to get too much credit and too much blame. And, Holton has had those decisions in crunch time. For instance, in the Navy game, he threw a pick where he threw back across his body where we were driving for a chance to win the game on a field goal. And then he had a couple picks in the second half of the Tulane game. But, by and large, he's steadily improved his play over the course of his 5-year career. Like you said, it understandably seems like it has been more like 8 to 10 years, but But Holton, he's completing, I think, 68% of his passes. But it's just sometimes fans, because of the magnitude of those mistakes and just where they came in ball games, tend to dwell on that. But I think Holton has made tremendous strides, and I don't think we'd be the team we are without Holton. There's no doubt about that, and that's something that Mike Houston, Donnie Kirkpatrick, and the staff have really reiterated, because you see plays, they tend to dwell on those negative plays, but then plays that he makes, like last weekend against Memphis, goal line situation, a read option play. He recognized what Memphis was doing defensively, knew that the end was going to crash even before he crashed, and he pulled it, walks into the end zone. So you don't hear people on the positive, of course, and just the negative. So I think Holton Ahlers is another tremendous asset as far as all time. Obviously, the numbers are huge just because he's started for about 4.5 seasons now, as opposed to Harden, who started for between 2.5 and 3 years. So, and then you have guys like David Garrard and Jeff Blake, who went on to be tremendous.
R2D2.
In our program's history, I would say no.
Tell us more about running back Keaton Mitchell. 149 yards last week in the 4 overtime win over Memphis, 3 touchdowns. What makes him such a good back for the Pirates?
Keaton Mitchell, like I heard Travis Williams, the UCF defensive coordinator, say.
We're never going to know what he said.
He said pretty darn good, that Keaton Mitchell. That's what Travis Williams said. Wherever his cell signal is. Hey, the show's live. And that sometimes happens. Let me know if Bubba rejoins us. Fact correction, our buddy Eric Lopez saying that the women's soccer team hosts Houston. Yours truly read the wrong line, had him at Tulsa. They host Houston. Thank you, Elo, for paying attention to the show. And then Knights finish in Tampa the following game after Houston. So he was borrowing George O'Leary's phone. Mike, what's an update on the baseball game? Nothing.
No score. Astros have a little rally going here. 2 outs in the bottom of the third. But Severino's looked pretty good. Let's see if he gets through Bregman. This is a tough batter.
Adam, you let me know if Bubba returns.
You're the first one to know about it, Trace. He has not returned.
Why don't we, so that the show doesn't go on forever and keep Mike and George O'Leary from communicating as they do. We got a mailbag. Do we have a coach? Or are we through coaches? Because we got media day coming up for men's and women's basketball. I hope to get a couple of those on cameras. Have we used all of the coaches?
We haven't, but maybe we could have Bubba do that for us. I think he's returned.
Bubba, are you back, sir?
I'm back. What was the last thing you heard, guys? I didn't even realize I dropped until there was no response.
It was a cliffhanger, Bubba. You were going to tell us what Travis Williams had to say about running back Keaton Mitchell.
Yes, he was just, he really stressed Keaton's elite speed. I mean, Keaton runs in the low 4.3s. Last week against Memphis, he really made some things happen when there appeared to be not a whole lot there, especially in crunch time. So Keaton not only has elite speed, but he's shifty and can make things happen in the open field. And, opposing defensive coordinators have said, it's tough to tackle, much less tackle.
Bubba, I think we're having an issue with your signal, my man. I'm going to give you one more chance here, buddy, or we're going to have to catch up in person in Greenville on Saturday.
Three-run home run by the Astros, by the way.
Is Mike throwing things? Is Mike reacting live in the other box?
I was upset that Bubba's connection.
Can you hear us? All right. We've lost Bubba.
Oh, Bubba's back?
Bubba, are you back, my man? All right. We're going to bid Bubba adieu. Bubba, I'll catch up with you Saturday in Greenville. All right. Let's open up that mailbag. Which coach do we have?
It's a great question, Trace.
Addison Williams, let's open the Sons of UCF mailbags.
We're going to do it with a walk-in talk question from a friend of ours, Raphael, with the Southeast Florida Alumni Chapter.
First time, long time.
Hey guys, coming at you straight from the top of Machu Picchu. I have a simple question. How far from Orlando have you been wearing UCF gear and gotten a simple Go Knights? Mine is Singapore. How about you guys?
Boy, we get some exotic locales for these, don't we?
Raphael flexing all over that walk and talk. First of all, he wasn't even walking. He's standing at the top of Machu Picchu. Then he tells us Singapore is his answer.
No, I wasn't expecting Singapore.
that is odd. Man, I don't know if I thought about this. I don't have a spot. I have a most awkward time. I gotta go Knights. I don't have a most exotic time.
What was that?
It's a bit of a sad story. So I was actually at the Holy Cross ICU ward visiting an ill family member, and I was walking out of the room, obviously a little bit distraught. Everything's fine now, by the way, but a little distraught and kind of head down and a little bit just kind of minding my own business. And I hit the elevator to go downstairs, and I got hey, go Knights. Wasn't expecting that in the ICU.
Mike, what about you?
I mean, I've worn UCF stuff in other countries overseas and stuff, but I don't really remember anybody saying anything. I don't remember getting the Go Knights. Maybe when I was in Boston when we played Boston College, I was doing the Freedom Trail walk by myself the day before the game just to kill time. And obviously there were other UCF fans in town that weekend. Anyway, I got to Go Knights then, but that's about as far as it is.
All right. One more time to Bubba. You want to bring him up one more time? See if we can...
I just told him we weren't going to talk to him
okay.
in the
All
chat.
Right.
So.
Well, no worries. I saw I was having some issues and that
since we got that walk and talk from Raphael, I just want to remind everybody this Saturday they're doing the beach cleanup here in Fort Lauderdale.
Plugs.
Meeting place is in front of Park and Ocean Restaurant. So I believe it goes from 9 to 12 o'clock, and then it includes a nice little lunch for you, kid friendly, family friendly. Everybody do something good for the community. Good
little plug there, Mike.
Wow.
At Rejoice Knights, who scored a very sweet Dallas Cowboys helmet, was one of the auction items on Saturday at Fritz Bunch fundraiser. Do you think UCF can keep up the pace they're setting for the remainder of the season? 70 points a week is a lot to ask, Joyce. But I like what I saw from the offense. Going to be a little bit tougher with some road games.
Feels unlikely, but I certainly hope we can get. If I can get half of that pace every game, that's 35 points. I'll be fine with that.
Yeah, 70 is not going to happen every week, guys. I'm sorry to break it to you. But, with the way the defense plays, if we get into the 30s most games, we should be able to win.
I want to thank everybody, by the way. We got a lot of mailbag questions, so maybe I'll ping them between both of you, or Mike's not going to get to watch. What was the score of that Yankees game, Mike? Anyway, @ all night _ This one's for you, Mike. Last week, he says, the lady and I played strip football where I was responsible for taking off a piece of clothing for each UCF touchdown. Clearly did not see them scoring 70 points. How many articles of clothing should he be prepared on Saturday night?
Well, that's a game that you play that you actually, it's good when you lose. So UCF scores a touchdown, you guys end up naked. That's fine. But I never heard of playing football before. I've heard of playing baseball. You kiss her on the strike, she kisses you on the balls. But I've never heard of the football game before.
Adam at Sublime _ night played ECU more than any other team. Series tied 10-10. Why has it never felt like a rivalry? See, I disagree with that. I do feel like it has felt like a rivalry. It's lopsided. Series began 8-1 ECU. It finishes now 8-1 UCF. I feel like it has been a rivalry.
I do think the wild swings and sort of runs between the teams probably factors into that a little bit. But I do agree. I think this is a game each year we circle on the calendar. Strange things happen all the time. So while it doesn't have the same sort of fervor maybe as the Cows do, and I think the wild swings kind of hurt that a little bit. It certainly will be a team I'll miss playing.
Mike at Captivage1, best ECU memory, Hale Perryman or George O'Leary's reaction to the catch?
Yeah, his reaction is gold. You never seen him smile on the field ever. So I think that was the only time, and it was his last time, obviously, because we didn't win a game after that. But
did you remember that? Did you know that? Did you think about that at all?
I don't think any of us thought about that until everybody read it this week. Brandon posted it this week, and everybody's like, "Oh my god, I didn't realize this was his last win."
How about Brandon, by the way, sparking the barbecue controversy this week inadvertently? And boy, he should know. Brandon should know at this point. Coach Malzahn does not like these sort of personal questions. He never bites on any of them. He's always awkward about them. He just doesn't want to let us into that part of his world.
Yeah, I tried that when I had my little interview with him last year, and I tried doing like a rapid fire. He shut me down on all of them.
Yeah, that's not the worst question I think Gus has been asked. Mike asked him for his intake on cryptocurrency. I think that may be the worst question ever asked of Gus Malzahn.
Yeah, that one gets lost in the pressure cooker lore. At M_M in UCF, if a tree falls in the woods, does Holt Naylor still have a receding hairline?
That's tough to answer. I mean, I'm holding on here. It's tough to answer that. I'm sorry, but probably.
It does speak to how long he has been there. And by the way, in case you don't know, his dad is the PA announcer. You may hear in Time to 3 on ESPNU on Saturday night.
Bubba said 5 years. Hasn't it been 6?
I don't know.
Didn't he play 17, 18, 19, 20, 21? Isn't this 22? Isn't that 6?
I don't know if he was here 17. 18 for sure.
Mike at Ethan of 126. ECU is known as the Pirates. What would your name be if you were a pirate?
I have no idea. I usually go over these questions beforehand. I just noticed this one. I saw it before, but I didn't think about a name for myself. Maybe I can come up with a name for me.
Well, there's a website, Mike, where you can get a random generator. I hit it before the show and wrote down the answer. It was Captain Lazy Jacks.
All right, that's it.
That was yours or his?
That's just the first one that came up. I'll give it to him since you didn't ask me the question.
Dolly Drama, who we follow on Twitter, had the interesting spin the wheel for. Did you see that?
The wheel of issues, yeah.
Yeah, the UCF fans complaining thing. This has got Mike written all over. Mike does the research. He comes prepared for the show. At Jay Grubbs, Mike, is there a P5 bias in the volleyball coaches poll? This gentleman was at the venue. UCF volleyball got 2 sweeps in a row Friday, Sunday. UCF 17 in the RPI, but then voted out of the top 25 by the coaches who don't even bother watching the matches. Mike,
I'll hang up and listen.
P5 bias?
There has to be. I mean, look at how the voting goes in college football, and everybody pays attention to college football, and still there's cases where the voters are not watching all these games. Are they really watching all the volleyball games? And the preseason ranking came out for women's basketball, and I think UCF got top 25 votes. Do they not know that the whole team is gone, the coach is gone? I mean, the people that do the votings and all these polls, there's no way they can know what's going on.
It does speak to brand building, though. Right? Actually, the UCF would get some women's basketball coaches votes. It does speak to the brand. Adam at Goldenite _2 with a good complex question. Yankees, Mike, what's going on?
We won, Mike.
We just scored. Yeah, we just scored. We got a runner on third one now. Let's see if we get another one in here.
If the game comes down to the wire and UCF is on offense, down by 3, 4th and goal, what do? JRP pass, JRP quarterback keep, wild Bowser, boomer kick, or the Gus special, the gadget play?
I went with E, none of the above. I went with a JRP option play. I like him having some options to keep it, maybe pitch it to a Bowser or an RJ Harvey. So give me a JRP option play. I don't think I want him throwing it, not because of him specifically, but that tight in the red zone area there. I mean, yeah, the end zone basically is another defender. So give me JRP and a bit of an option.
This doesn't tell me enough information. 4th and goal. It could be 4th and goal from the 1. It could be 4th and goal from the 10. So that's going to make a big decision. 4th and goal from the 10. I have faith in Boomer, tie the game, and let the defense go to work. But if it's something close to the goal line, I love the wild Bowser format by the goal line. That hasn't been stopped yet this year. So I'd go with that.
This one, I think it's a good question, but it didn't end up being, I don't believe, with the uniform reveal. How about that, though? The old state of Florida logo on the helmet at Quan Wobble. Perriman should have been the guest uniform presenter, right? Would have been a natural.
He's probably busy. He plays Tampa. I don't think has a bye this week. Gabe Davis I saw was down there. I mean, Gabe Davis could have easily tried that thing out.
Gabe Davis visiting Coach Malzahn.
Did they have a guest put on the jersey this week? I didn't even see.
No, I don't believe so.
In the tag, they tagged Jaden Francois in the photograph. Not sure if he's the model, but he was he was tagged in the photograph.
Gotcha. Our buddy Brian W. Peterson, happy birthday to Brian this week. Have we turned the corner with JRP, or should we expect his numbers and play to come back down to earth? I think we could have turned the corner with him and also see the numbers be a little bit more down to earth.
I wrote both on this one. I think we saw the absolute ceiling of what JRP can be against Temple. We've also seen the absolute floor in Louisville. As long as we can get close to the median and above the median, I think we're good. We just can't go below the median 3-2.
Mike, at Spursy night, do you think we've seen the last of Tommy Touchdown Castellanos for the season? So you were talking a little bit with Nick about that. What would you do And does it matter burning red shirts? Do you expect a guy to be here 4 or 5 or Holt Naylor-esque years?
It doesn't matter to me, no, because most of the time when they keep the red shirt is because they transfer to another school. So, no, I don't really care about that. But I hope we don't see him anymore, because that just means all the games either Plumlee's playing the whole way and he's not getting hurt, or it's such a blowout that they save his red shirt and they put in Will Bone or somebody else that's you're not going to worry about burning the red shirt.
Dan Arcundiff asked something similar about the red shirt, also asking, especially with this barbecue controversy with Coach Malzahn, should Robert, 2 letters, 2 words, open up a barbecue spot soon? Robert, by the way, you got to introduce Coach Malzahn. He says he's a little bit on the brisket, but not big on barbecue. You got to introduce him to some food. Robert's question. Yes, Adam?
That begs the question. I need a journalistic follow-up then. What does he eat? So if he's not a barbecue guy, what's his go-to meal? I need a follow-up on that, Trace. What do you think he is? Pizza guy? You think he's like rigatoni? Like, what do you think Gus is going for?
That is the Brandon Hellwig lane in the media availabilities. So.
Now, Brandon, if you're listening, I need to know what Gus had for dinner last night.
Yeah, Brandon feels the room and knows how to wind down a presser by going in with food questions. Robert's question at 2 letters, 2 words. If we remain undefeated going into a game in the second half of the season, JRP got the flu, preventing him. This is the same variation here.
Yes.
Mikey or Tommy. You know, it was interesting that Gus said Mikey's listed as the second string quarterback, Jason Beatty of the Orlando Sentinel, with a follow-up there. I think it is a little bit situational, right? I think he might make a different decision if it's just handing off the ball late in the game versus an injury situation. Hopefully,
he's talking about starting and playing a whole game.
Yeah.
If it's something like he just has the flu and that came on the day before, maybe you go with Mikey. But if it's something you have a whole week to prep for and you can game plan against a certain opponent, maybe you keep you put Tommy in there.
Well, I think what we learned from the Temple game, Trace, is that Tommy's skill set is relatively close to what we see from JRP, right? He can certainly run. Obviously had a couple of nice throws. So that doesn't require Gus to change too much about the offense. I think if it's Mikey, he's going to have to tweak some things a little bit. The quarterback run package has probably got to come out right away. With Tom, you can probably run what you're used to, keep some continuity with the line, receivers, back. So I wouldn't be surprised if you don't see Tommy unless it's one of those blowout situations or something where, like the Cows.
At Lil Joey Joe 49, was the offensive inconsistency earlier in the season really just a strategy by Gus to throw off Cincinnati's game planning for a potential game day showdown in the bounce house? I don't think so. No strategy involved in that. At Nightmares J, bigger trap game, ECU before Cincinnati or Memphis after?
I think Memphis after is a big one, right? Because at that point, we'll have beaten Cincinnati, I assume, to borrow Mike's favorite phrase. We'll be strut like a peacock. And then we'll have Tulane, who may actually be a good team, be ranked at that point, still coming up ahead after Memphis as well, too. So I think Memphis is kind of in that valley between what we assume are the 2 toughest opponents left on our schedule. And if we beat Cincinnati, I think at Memphis would be one that I'd be a little scary about.
Mike at Go Knights _Paul J, with the game time stations announced for Cincinnati. How confident? What's your confidence level here on a Thursday live show? UCF getting that game day slot against Cincinnati.
Right now, I'm not that confident. A lot can happen this weekend to change things. If UCF goes out and puts a solid performance, puts another 40 spot on East Carolina, and Cincinnati looks good, and both teams are coming in the top 25, it's still going to depend on what's going on those other games that have the option. I like our chances better. Right now, I don't think it's actually happening, but it's nice to think about just in case.
At Armored _Up, would you prefer college game day for Cincinnati at UCF or UCF at Tulane? Easy. At home. At home. That's where 45,000 plus. Yeah, at home. Jacob, RCF, wanting to know, tailgate. He wants to meet everybody. You can do that. DM us. DM, and we'll meet up with you somewhere on campus, but no formal tailgate. Hey,
are we doing that? Is that a service we provide, Trace?
It is under Suns Plus, the paywall. How about Brian today? Brian W. Peterson wanting in on some of this, all the different text groups that
he's missing out on a lot. Yeah, so I'm sorry.
There's a lot of insider info, Brian.
Wow, a lot of stuff happening. A lot of text flying back.
I sent him a little taste of Suns Plus on a direct message. He's in. He wants to pay $49.99 a month. So.
49?
Please rephrase that.
DM us if you want to meet up on Saturday, and let us know where you're tailgating. Invite us to your tailgate, especially if you have Jello shots.
Yeah. Yes.
at
Please include your drink menu on the DM.
Trace, you've seen that site that has, you got to be a mom, but it's free Jello shots for moms. They're on Memory Mall every weekend.
Yeah, I did see that.
Put a little wig on, and
yeah, that's going to be the whole difference right there. Just throwing on a wig.
Problem solved. Perfect.
Yeah, at UCF, attendance student section looks sparse. Big Game Boomer ranked UCF student section one of the worst of the week. Can and should UCF reduce student capacity to boost attendance and ticket sales when they enter the Big 12? I'm not sure that they can. Brian, if you could throw it on the screen, I think that's part of their agreement based on the student athletic fee that they get a certain percentage of tickets. They certainly show out sometimes, but not consistently. But then again, you could say that of a great deal of the fan base. And then J.A. Hadaway, is it just me or do y'all find it annoying when fans try to manufacture game day traditions? Isn't it better to let them organically come into existence? Always better organically. Do we consider the boomer chant now ringing out when Colton Boomer goes to kick as organic?
I think so. It feels like it kind of came out of nowhere. The challenge with these things, though, is you might need a little bit of a nudge to start something at times, right? So you may need a nudge. Maybe a music song is played. Obviously not Frankie Valli, but I think you might need a nudge. But I do believe the boomer, or I think it's just boom when he kicks, will be a new tradition as long as he makes them.
yeah, that's the thing. He's got to make the kicks. Was it really catching on last week? I wasn't in the stadium, but
yeah, you could hear it.
You could hear it. Yeah.
We agreed with athletics to 12,000 student seats when the stadium opened. Brian, is that locked in? Could Timo peel away from those seats and turn them over to fan season ticket renewals going out? Mike, did you get yours?
I got my email. Yeah, I have not. I didn't renew on the first day. I have until like January 10th. But yeah, I'll be renewing. Same seats.
Heard that the parking went up a bit.
Yeah, I sell my parking passes every year, so I mean, they could just not even include it in mine and save me the $250 if they wanted to.
Don't tell them that. You guys did a good comprehensive review of the last game, episode 201. By the way, what's the next milestone? Is it 250, and then what's the milestone after that? Is it in increments of 50, or do you got to wait to 500?
I'm just trying to get to 202, Trace.
Yeah, once we get to 200, I think you just got to go hundreds now. 300 is the next one.
But you can celebrate at 250, or you got to go from 200 to 300?
Nah, maybe we do it. I mean, 50 is basically every year. So, I mean, we could do an anniversary show, I guess. Do you remember the date of the first episode, Adam?
The lost episode.
It's got to be like August something, 2018, yeah?
Yeah, it would have been right before the Cincinnati game. I think that first week before. Was that the one we did 3 episodes because I didn't record the first 2 correctly? I forget.
Yeah. The first ever episode, yeah, we did 3 times. But no, it was before the season opener. So, which
it was
I don't know what they
year.
I don't know what
I like when you opened the vault on your 200th episode and shared some snippets. And joining us now, special guest UCF Mike.
Yeah, he had his own sounder. It was glorious.
I want that back, actually.
Speaking of sounders, Adam, you don't play that sounder for Mike during his picks anymore. Maybe that's why he's struggled. He trails me all season,
I
by the way.
During one
trails
show.
me all season. Mike, get off the schneid here. You continue to trail me.
We're halfway through the year. You have a 2-game lead.
But you've trailed the entire season.
Yeah, but you've had a 2-game lead for the last 6 weeks. Actually, you went up to 3 and you came back. So now things are switching around a little.
Let me tell you what, the bigger challenge is we're 3 games behind the Banneret guys. So we all need to pick up the pace a little bit. I skipped it earlier. What's your final score prediction? Knights favored by 4, 4.5, maybe 5 some places. What do you got, Adam?
I wrote down 37-24 Knights.
Whoa. Okay.
It's a high scoring game. I also go with 33-13.
33-13. I'm going to keep the Knights defense, keeping a team under 20. So I'm going to go 37-19. 37-19. Good guys. All right. I will be there flying out Friday through the weekend. DM me if you want to meet up. Let me know where you're tailgating and be happy to hang out with you again.
You gonna have barbecue?
Especially, oh yeah, I'm not opposed to trying barbecue. I like all kinds of barbecue. So
are you vinegar? I didn't realize there were so many different varieties of barbecue. I mean, I was like, give me a barbecue sandwich. I ate it. I didn't realize there were so many different variations.
Kansas City barbecue, Memphis barbecue. Yeah, there are variations on it. I don't know that I have a particular preference. And I'll try whatever's in the area. You know, I think you guys were talking about that. Whatever the food is in the area, I'm game for trying it. And as we had with our Big 12 guests, I'm looking forward to trying some of the craft breweries and such. So what's this?
I think Matt Dolan may have won the comment of the week.
All All right, guys, it's been fun. Everybody who's traveling up to Greenville, safe travels, driving or flying. Everyone else, watch parties and the like, cheer on the Knights, get a big victory on the road. I know we're going to end with a player for Adam and Mike. I'm Trey Strolko. Go Knights, everyone.
I guess we can say charge on.
I'm Quadric Bullard, and thanks for watching.